Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dan Weiner from Avison Young, president of SIBS, and I want to welcome everyone to the final edition of our Lunch and Learn series for 2021. So for those of you that are joining us for the first time, our Lunch and Learn series is geared towards giving our associate members, who are basically our non-commercial broker members, the opportunity to showcase and discuss industry-related topics that they specialize in and that are relevant to current trends in commercial real estate. We've hosted lunch and learns on a wide variety of topics. For example, 1031 exchange, the misconceptions with the IDA, hosted by the Nassau IDA. And also we've done things like how to promote your business on LinkedIn. So I hope everyone has enjoyed the series so far. Just to let you know, they're all recorded and available on our website after the fact. So if you don't get a chance to tune in live, you can certainly see them afterwards. And today is no different. So today we're going to discuss a very interesting infrastructure project, an initiative that will be great for Long Island and our economy. And in a minute, I'm going to turn over the program to Will Flower from Winter Brothers and Peter Curry from Farrell Fritz. I just want to take one more minute to just let you know about some of our SIBS events coming up for 2022 and some SIBS news. So first, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors as usual. And I want to let you know that we've added our first two new sponsors for 2022. I mentioned Eisner Amper at our annual meeting, but I'd also like to welcome to the SIBS family Fairfield Properties, new for 2022. So last week, I'm proud to say that we cracked the 300 member mark, which I'm proud of. It's been challenging over the past 18 months, but we have over 300 members for 2021. And the really nice thing about that is 70 of them are brand new members. So it says a lot about the direction that we're headed. And I want to thank everyone that's involved. There are two events that I want to mention for 2022 that we plan, and they're both series. So SIBS developed a panel of 8 brokers that will partner with Waldner's Business in January. We'll be bringing you a series on the future and evolution of the workplace environment. And we're excited about that. Secondly, in January, we're going to be hosting our annual State of the Industry event. That'll also be 2 parts, and it'll cover the various sectors and trends in industrial, office, multifamily, and retail. And first, we're going to speak to the landlords and the developers, and then about a month later, we're going to get the broker perspective. And then lastly, our very first Lunch and Learn for 2022 will be hosted by Fercelli, Deegan, and Tirana, and their cannabis practice group will be teaching us all about cannabis law and the trends of that growing industry. So with that, hopefully you liked what we're doing, and that continues today. And so I'd like to turn over the program to Peter Curry and Will Flower to teach us all about the Winters Rail Terminal in Yaphank. Peter?
Yeah. Thanks everybody for attending. You probably know the general location of this project. This project is located near Sills Road. There's a large overall project going on both the north side of the railroad tracks and south of the expressway, and then south of the railroad tracks running all the way to Horse Block Road in Yaphank. And today we're going to be speaking about the development of the south side, on the south side of the Long Island Railroad, which is really 2 projects. There's going to be a rail logistics oriented facility, and then there is going to be a waste transfer station. Will Flower is the Senior Vice President of Winters Brothers, and Winters Brothers is involved in both aspects of this overall development. And it's pretty exciting. Long Island has spent the last, I would say, 70 years trying to get rid of commercial rail access to Long Island. And there's a sudden realization that that was a major mistake. And Will and his company are in the forefront of the next generation of rail-related development and what it can mean to Long Island. Will has a presentation. I think it's a pretty exciting presentation. There's a lot of detail, and those wonks who are into locomotive identities and things like that, they'll be able to find something interesting to them. But Will is here to talk about both the rail aspects and the waste transfer aspects, and I'm going to turn it over to Will now for his presentation.
That's great. And Peter, thank you so much. Happy holidays to everybody. Just want to say, Dan and Christine, thank you so much. Also, thanks to Dave Panetta for his assistance in helping us get this set up. This is truly an incredible infrastructure project that will serve Long Island for the next 50 years. And we really do appreciate the opportunity to talk about that. I'm going to share my screen and put together, run you through a overview of the project. This is just going to be about 13 slides to get everybody oriented to where exactly we're talking about here. So we refer to this project as the right solution at the right time. And the reason that it's the right time is that the Brookhaven landfill is going to close. And that landfill today takes in about 1.2 million tons of waste every year. When that facility closes, we need to ensure that the business community, the brokers, the contractors, the tenants, and the people who lease property all have a cost-effective and environmentally sound way to manage solid waste. Because just because that landfill closes does not mean that the waste is going to simply disappear by itself. The Brookhaven Rail Project itself is a Class 3 short line railroad that operates in Yaphank. Winters Brothers acquired that land, railroad in May of 2020. Of course, Winters is focused on recycling and solid waste management here on Long Island. We're the largest company on Long Island and also the largest exporter of material from Long Island. We currently use what we referred to as a rail serve leaf locomotive, which is a very fuel efficient locomotive engine. This was specifically designed for rail yard operations, and it runs every day here on Long Island. The project has 4 components that I want to talk with you about today. The first is that there's more than 25% of the project is being preserved as green space. There is a smart warehousing and distribution center that Peter made reference to, and that is being developed by North Point Development. We're going to provide a little bit of information about that. There is the rail terminal itself, which is an opportunity to bring goods onto Long Island and ship goods off of Long Island. And then there is the recycling and waste management infrastructure that we are developing as part of the project. The objectives of the project, there's really 7 of them that we focus on. The first is to improve air quality, and this project does improve air quality on Long Island. We get trucks off of the street. We're able to reduce the amount of long haul trucks, these big tractor trailers that are on the road. Again, think about the 1.2 million tons that currently go into the Brookhaven landfill. If you were to put all of that material onto trucks, we would need 60,000 trucks a year that would be added to the Long Island Expressway, the Cross Bronx Expressway, the GW Bridge, adding to and congesting even an already stressed infrastructure. We want to increase recycling. This isn't just about moving waste. We also need to reduce waste as much as we can. And we've been working with our customers to try to help them manage waste. Waste reduction is a big part of that. This is also about developing that rail infrastructure that is for materials that's being brought to Long Island. And then we want to preserve green space. And I think for this group, as one of the more objectives and one of the more informed business groups on Long Island, this is all about controlling costs for businesses, municipalities, and contractors. And it is a big cost. You know, think about a municipality. If you take away the cost of public safety, the next biggest cost that in any environmental budget is their cost of solid waste management. And that's why we really need to focus on this, because it's good for business, it's good for municipalities, and it's also good for those contractors who need to dispose of C&D waste. At the end of the day, this is a project that makes Long Island an attractive place to conduct business. By the numbers, the 228 acres of property that were acquired earlier this year in May of 2021, we acquired the 228 acres. As I mentioned, 65 of those acres are going to be set aside in a conservation easement for the preservation of green space. 113 acres are going to be developed into smart warehouses and distribution centers. And then there's going to be an additional 50 acres that'll be used for the recycling and waste management infrastructure. To give you an idea of where the location or where the facility is located, I'll orient you real quick. If you look at the Long Island Expressway is on the north side of the project. The Long Island Railroad cuts right down this section just on the north side of the property. And then as we run down the east side, you have the county's wastewater treatment plant. You have the Long Island compost facility, home to a large organic digester that's being constructed out there. To the south of the facility, you have the Brookhaven landfill. And then as you come up the west side of the facility or the property, you have again another composting operation, a rock crushing, and a quarrying operation. So this is a very industrial area, and we think it is a perfect location for this rail terminal operation. On the economic side, you cannot look at this project and not be wowed by the number of jobs that will be created by this. We're talking about some almost 1,800 construction jobs. Most of those are direct construction jobs, people on the site swinging hammers, pouring concrete, establishing trusses. And most importantly, we're talking about some 1,800 permanent jobs. So a total of 3,600 jobs that will be created as this facility is being built. And again, 1,800 of those jobs are permanent. The other incredible economic benefits is that when the Brookhaven landfills closes, there is going to be an impact on every business and every municipality on Long Island. You know, if we don't have a solution, we're going to see construction costs rise due to higher costs of disposing of that C&D waste. And trains do allow for us to move waste to landfills. You know, Long Island is only going to be left with one C&D landfill. There are ample amounts of capacity for the disposal of waste in upstate New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Georgia, Michigan. There's plenty of capacity, and rail allows us to ship waste to these other facilities so that it can be managed in a cost-effective manner. In addition to the economic benefits, it is critical for us to talk about the environmental benefits. All of us on Long Island benefit from a clean and healthy environment. Environmental protection is the business that we're in. I think we do a really good job about it, and we do care about it. So let's talk about how this project benefits the environment. Number one, it'll reduce truck traffic. When you reduce truck traffic, that means there's less air pollution on the road. Keep in mind that for every one rail car, we're able to take 5 semi-trucks off of the Long Island Expressway. And of course, Here in New York, there's a big emphasis right now on fighting climate change. This is a real way that we can make a difference by trying to take trucks off of the road. Rail is 3 to 4 times more fuel efficient than trucks, especially going greater distances. Like I said, we've already proven our commitment by purchasing and using that rail serve leaf locomotive for our daily operations at the site. These are the facts, and there is no question that these facts exist, and as a result, we need to come up with a solution. Every one of us, every person on Long Island generates about 4.5 pounds of garbage every single day. And in Nassau and Suffolk County, there's about 2.8 million of us that live here. So every single day, the challenge is, what do we do with those 13 million pounds of waste that have to go someplace? And yes, there needs to be more waste reduction. There needs to be more recycling. We're doing all of those things. But the fact of the matter is, you do need to take care of the waste that cannot be reduced and has no economic value. And in 2024, when the Brookhaven landfill closes, we are going to be facing a real crisis. And if you saw last week's editorial in Newsday, which was spot on, there is a crisis. It is not a looming crisis. It is a crisis that is here today and now and needs to be addressed. So we put together a way to solve that problem. And it's an environmentally sound solution. It's a cost-effective solution. And it's a solution that allows us to create infrastructure that's going to serve this area for the next, serve Long Island for the next 50 years. I just want to show you a couple of maps that were developed by the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council. These NIMTEC maps were designed to show the amount of rail movement, specifically freight movements in the Northeast. The thicker the blue line, the more waste is moving by rail. The thinner it is, the less that's moving there. So you can see in the Northeast, about 19% of all freight moves by rail. On Long Island, it's less than 1%. And the reason being is that we simply don't have the necessary infrastructure to move any type of freight by rail. And of course, this project is looking to change that. This project is looking to establish some of that additional infrastructure that we need. If you look at this map here, this actually shows the imbalance of intermodal facilities. You see a tremendous amount of these facilities over in New Jersey, and that's why a lot of the freight moves so much on the New Jersey side. But those yellow dots that are there don't really exist in Nassau or in Suffolk County. And what we're trying to do is to create an opportunity to, again, move waste not just off of Long Island, but bring freight onto Long Island and ensure that that materials can move in a cost-effective way. NIMTEC took a look at at 6 different commodity groups that comprise about 90% of the regional tonnage. And when you look at that, I was struck by how much of the material moves by truck. Food, about 89% of it is shipped into the region, and of that, it comes in about 97% of the inbound food comes in by truck. Parcels and secondary freights, 98% by truck. You know, it's very interesting. I like every one of you, I get Amazon deliveries to my house every day. Up until recently, those Amazon trucks came to my house and they all had a New Jersey license plate. So I asked the driver, "Why do you have that?" And they said, "Because we're loading our trucks over in New Jersey and driving over here." That makes no sense. We need to have smart freight and smart warehousing operations here on Long Island to achieve that last mile driven. And then construction materials, about 94% of that material that comes onto the island is delivered by truck. Energy products, a lot is brought in by truck. When you look at that, there is a big water component there, mostly because oil is delivered in barges. Pharmaceutical drugs, almost entirely shipped that moves by truck. And then waste, the other commodity, we ship about 63% of that material currently outbound. About 87% of that moves by truck, 3% by water, and about 9% right now by rail. So rail is already being used. We want to see more rail be used for the outbound shipment of waste, for the simple reason that it's good for the environment and it's good for the economy. We've been doing a tremendous amount of outreach. The Winters family is committed to making sure that we talk to everybody about this project. There are naysayers that say, well, gee, we'd like to hear about the project or some secret project. Fact of the matter is, I've been advertising this in Newsday, in the Long Island Advance, in many publications. It's been the subject of front page stories in the Long Island Business News, articles in Newsday, articles in the Advance. We've been on the radio talking about it. We've done editorial boards. We're buying advertising to promote it. We've got a great website up. I would encourage all of you to participate in that, to sign up for updates. We do updates every 2 weeks. But the reality is, we'll talk to anybody. Civic associations we've been out to, our neighbors, government officials, regulators, the news media, the business community like SIBS. Anybody that will listen, we'll certainly talk to them. This is just a quick shot of the 2.6 million square feet, which is proposed by North Point Development. While we focused heavily on rail today, I do want to show you that North Point, which is a phenomenal company, they're a great partner, and they are developing the industrial buildings that will take place south of the Long Island Railroad, as well as on 2 parcels north of the Long Island Railroad. Wanted to provide to you contact information. Again, I would ask you to sign up at wintersrailterminal.com for the biweekly news updates that go out. And then if you want to talk to anybody about the leasing opportunity for North Point, Eric Watts is the Director of Industrial Leasing there, and would be more than happy to take any of the questions there. So that's a overview of the project. It is exciting because it is the creation of infrastructure, again, that will serve Long Island not only in the near future, but certainly over the next 50 years. And it is so critical. As Peter said early on, we kind of shied away from the freight movement of rail or by rail on Long Island. And it's critical because transportation systems are so congested right now that we swing that back and we include rail as part of our solution here on Long Island. And again, I'm not just talking about outbound shipments. We're also talking about inbound shipments of material as well. Dan, we'd love to take any questions or talk a little bit more about the project. And Peter, if you have any additional comments, feel free to weigh in.
Yeah, I'd like to start out by asking a question. I mean, you acquired an existing short line, and that short line is already serving one part of that area. Maybe you could give us a little bit about the experiences of shipping to what is called Parcel A, the parcel that's contiguous to Sills Road, and how that's going.
Yep. So every day, Brookhaven Rail operates. We operate on property that's owned by the Brookhaven Rail Terminal. The Brookhaven Rail Terminal was established several years ago, more than 10 years ago, and goods have been coming in there on a regular basis and also leaving the Brookhaven Rail Terminal. The property is about, the Brookhaven Rail Terminal is about 30 acres in size, and it's been a terrific success. We've been able to really utilize that for freight. A lot of building materials come into that site, trusses, lumber. Additionally, food products come in, things like flour that are used to as part of the manufacturing process here on Long Island. And there's also material that gets shipped out of that rail terminal. So that is moving along just fine. It continues to operate, and what we believe there is a need for even more. So as rail terminals go, that's a good size one, but it pales into comparison for the need for what Long Island needs. So we think expanding onto parcel D, which is on the southern side of the Long Island Railroad, is the right way to go, and it'll allow us to manage a great deal more material and keep trucks off of the road.
It's my understanding that under your existing approvals, you can also expand into parcels B and C on the north side of the railroad tracks?
That is correct. And that's parcels B and C were recently acquired by North Point Development, and that's where they are planning to put in this additional industrial space, and that will also be rail served. And again, I can't say enough about the railroad. It's not that we're going to completely do away with trucks. You need to have, it's a big problem, and the movement of freight anywhere is a big issue. And this is really going to be a holistic solution in which trucks as well as rail have to get together to solve it and make sure that we're meeting society's demand here on Long Island.
The process you're going through, I think most of the community who's listening to this call is aware of dealing with towns, villages, other regulatory authorities that regulate development. And the question that I'm going to ask you is, why is this project going through the Surface Transportation Board, a national agency?
Yeah, and the answer is pretty simple. It's because the developer, Brookhaven Rail, is a railroad, and railroads are regulated by the Surface Transportation Board, and it's kind of like that is the legal and necessary pathway. That doesn't mean that no one doesn't have a voice in this process. Everyone has a voice, and we as a family-owned company here on Long Island, we listen to the community. We work with the town of Brookhaven. We work with the state of New York through the New York State DEC. We will get a permit. We'll have to go through the process of getting a permit through the DEC. So there's a lot of requirements and hoops that we have to jump through. Some on the federal side because we're a railroad. Some on the state side because we will be regulated by the DEC, and also some on the town side. So there's ample, there's a little bit of misinformation out there, and I just saw a question pop up about the NAACP and asking why we're going to the Surface Transportation Board. The answer is because that's the appropriate pathway that we have to go through. We have asked on 3 occasions to meet with the NAACP, to ask them to please meet with us so we can explain it to them. They've denied our requests 3 times. So we'll keep asking. We just sent another letter to them asking again to meet with them. We're willing to meet with everybody. And the way to get information is to not stick your head into the sand, but rather have that discussion. We're having discussions with everybody. And again, we've asked to meet with the NAACP 3 times. But this is not an environmental justice community. This is a project which is in a proper location. It's properly zoned. It will create incredible economic benefits for the entire community. Again, think about the benefits in which we'll create some 1,800 permanent jobs. This is a benefit that groups like the NAACP should be in favor of. The environmental benefits are incredible. This is a project that environmental groups should be in favor of. When you talk about more recycling, cleaner air, less congestion, fighting against climate change, you really do have to start to scratch your head and say, why would an environmental group or why would a civic organization be opposed to something like this, which is so beneficial to the community?
I think having been involved in this site in an earlier iteration, I think the people should know that the town of Brookhaven entered into a stipulation of settlement of a litigation which took into account that the town actually has no jurisdiction, no possible jurisdiction over certain aspects of the rail construction. So it's not as if it could assert jurisdiction. The town acknowledged that in the stipulation and retains jurisdiction over the things that are within its oversight, but gives to the Surface Transportation Board what is properly before the Surface Transportation Board. So it's not as if they could jump in and take jurisdiction. They have no jurisdiction over rail lines.
Right. Rails, the rail line, properly so, is regulated by the federal government, right? Otherwise, the railroads would never line up right. So there's a federal agency that's responsible for that, and everybody knows how railroads are regulated. So we have to go to the STB. But that, again, I want to stress, that does not preclude the fact that DEC is going to have a permit that they have to review and grant. That does not preclude the town of Brookhaven from being involved in the process. And again, we encourage people to be involved in this process. We're an open book. This is the most transparent project in the history of Long Island.
Well, let me ask you another question about the landfill. The landfill is closing in a couple of years, and can you comment as to which towns currently use that landfill?
Yeah, so the landfill currently accepts 3 different waste streams that come into it, 3 different types of waste. Number one, it accepts incinerator ash from the incinerators in Hempstead, in Smithtown, and also the incinerator in Islip. The 4th incinerator where waste is burned is here in Babylon, and in Babylon they have their own ash monofill. So those 3 municipalities, or those 3 incinerators, which take waste in from a really large area, all ship their waste to the town of Brookhaven. In addition, there's about 600,000 tons of construction and demolition waste that go into that facility. Construction and demolition waste comes from all over the island. That is waste that contractors generate when they are demolishing and building facilities. So it's really important to understand that as projects are being developed, one of the costs, in addition to the building material, is the cost to dispose of material in a cost-effective and environmentally sound manner. My biggest fear is that if the landfill is not there and this facility is not there, we're going to see a rash of illegal dumping that could potentially take place. We had a flavor of that. We saw some of that in Roberto Clemente Park, where waste was illegally disposed of. And that's not the right solution. The right solution is to come up with a cost-effective, environmentally sound solution that has economic benefits, that has environmental benefits, and this is that solution. Again, there's no getting away from the fact that society generates a lot of waste. The last waste stream that goes into the Brookhaven landfill is auto fluff. That is the waste that's left over from shredding cars. When you shred an automobile, there is a tremendous amount of waste that's left over. Everything from the fluids to pieces of vinyl, plastic, insulation that's in the car, that has to go someplace. So that material also goes into the Brookhaven landfill. So when you look at which areas of Long Island get served by the Brookhaven landfill, it's really all of Long Island. And there are a few municipalities that already ship waste off of Long Island. But the majority of them do utilize the landfill either because of the ash or the construction and demolition debris that gets disposed of in Brookhaven.
And you're essentially replacing the landfill as the area to receive all of those, all that trash and all of the detritus?
Yeah, I don't think we'll be the only ones, right? Gershaw Recycling, who has the car shredder and currently uses the landfill to get rid of its auto fluff, is also building a facility. There's another facility that's being built in Brentwood, and there are other transfer stations that are out there. Fact of the matter is, again, you need a holistic approach. I don't think we're the only solution, I think we're a major part of the solution, but you need this and other facilities to ensure that society has the proper infrastructure in place to manage solid waste. Again, the issue is that there are 13 million pounds of waste every day that have to go someplace. And what we're trying to do is make sure it goes to an environmentally sound facility. There are people that say, well, if you don't have a facility, what are you going to do? Where's it going to go? And that's my question to detractors. What are you going to do with this waste? Sure, we want to see more recycling. We want to see waste reduction. But the truth is that despite our best efforts to recycle, despite our best efforts to reduce, businesses and residents need us to take care of their waste. You may not like what I do. You may not think it's the best job, but it's a job we take very seriously. And it's a job that we know that there has to be this infrastructure in place to manage society's waste in a way that is safe and cost effective. Now, keep in mind, you look at infrastructure that's been stressed during the pandemic, right? This infrastructure, the solid waste infrastructure, never missed a single day. We operated, we picked up garbage every day, never missed a single route. All of our facilities remained open when society was staying at home and tossing their garbage out. The infrastructure needs to be strong. And some people may say, well, why are you proposing such a large facility? You have to understand that waste is not this real steady flow of information. It ebbs and flows over the course of the year. There are times leading up to the Memorial Day holiday when waste really starts to ramp up and it gets to a really, really large amount of waste. And then it starts to come down over time after the Labor Day weekend. So there's this imbalance of waste in the system. So you need to make sure that you're taking care of all of the highs to the high volumes of waste, so that society doesn't have any type of problems that exist.
A question has been asked about the fact that you're proposing the largest waste transfer station in New York State on a site that's not zoned for a waste transfer station. Perhaps you can address that question.
Yeah, so you have to put the facilities in industrial areas, and this is an industrial area. The town, the location of the facility is the proper location. There's a landfill right across the street. There's a wastewater treatment plant to one side. There's a rock crushing and composting area to the other. So the reality is, there's not a better location on Long Island to put this facility in. There are some other questionable locations that people are putting facilities, but this one makes a great deal of sense for where it's located. You can't get a better location anywhere on Long Island. And trust me, we looked. We went out and we looked at different facilities. We looked at different operations where we could place this. This is the best location here on Long Island.
Are there contingency plans from the various towns in the event that this facility does not get built? What do they do with the waste?
That's a good question, and I know that the supervisors of the various towns, the counties, the DEC have a responsibility to ensure that waste is managed in a cost-effective and environmentally sound manner. And those municipalities do rely on the private sector to provide these services. They rely on Covanta, they rely on Winters, they rely on other companies as well to manage that solid waste. So they are dependent on this operation, not just this one, but many others. You want to have some redundancy and some resiliency built into the waste management infrastructure, right? It's just like, Peter, it's just like, the power demands. You don't create just enough power, you create what society needs. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to ensure that this facility exists to manage what society needs. Keep in mind, this isn't my garbage. This is society's garbage that I'm responsible for, and that's a responsibility that we take very seriously.
The alternative solutions you're talking about, are they rail related?
A few of them are. There is already 2 existing waste to rail facilities on Long Island. 2 more are opening, one in Brentwood and one in Medford, and ours would be the 5th one on Long Island.
Is that enough to take all the waste off with 5 of them?
No, it really does. And keep in mind, there's also there still is a large construction and demolition landfill on Long Island. So you need this holistic approach, right? You kind of need to ensure that you have on-island disposal options, which there is, but that it's not enough, and it doesn't manage any type of municipal solid waste. The one remaining landfill on Long Island is a construction and demolition waste site. But the fact of the matter is, what are we going to do with the other 13 million pounds of garbage? And that is where Covanta is going to handle a large piece of it. We're going to handle some of it. Other companies will also manage some of that. But unless you have everything working together, you're going to have a colossal failure, and that's not something that anybody wants to see.
We got a question indicating that Governor Hochul has said that the zoning decision should rest with the town, not the STB. I can't verify that that's what she said, but that's the statement in the question.
Yeah, she did send a letter to the Surface Transportation Board, making sure that the process was going to be open. I think Governor Hochul does know that railroads are regulated by the Surface Transportation Board, and what she was asking for was to ensure that there would be a public input process. We responded to that letter saying that we also want to participate in a very open public process, and the Transportation Board, like many other federal agencies, allows for a very open process to ensure that the public is heard, that the business community is heard, that residents are heard, that everybody is heard, to ensure that this project is fully vetted. Again, I don't think there's been another more transparent project on Long Island, nor do I think there's there's a very important part of this. If you read my open letter to the governor when the day after she took office, we talked about the importance of protecting and enhancing the quality of the environment here on Long Island. Nothing is more important than that. And this project, it doesn't matter if you like it or not, the facts are the facts. This project will reduce air quality, will reduce air pollution. This project will take trucks off of the street. This project will improve Long Island's environment and improve the economy.
Another question about, and this is really an off-site question having to do with the rest of the infrastructure that the rail travel would have to travel through. And the question is, what is there in the budget for improving tunnels and making sure that once trains leave the facility, that the rest of the infrastructure can handle the increased use of rail?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And when you look at our ability to move waste by rail, the nice thing is that the United States has a very robust rail infrastructure, and the recently passed federal government infrastructure bill does upgrade, that continues to invest in and promote freight by rail. So the fact is that once it's on the rail, we have a really great system, a better system to transport it than the Long Island Railroad, a better system than the Cross Bronx Expressway. And when you look at the asthma rates across the Cross Bronx Expressway from traffic, it's pretty high, and we're trying to address that. Again, this project is good for the environment. It's good for it's good for Long Island.
There's a list of questions all having to do with whether you intend to submit your zoning requirements to the town of Brookhaven with a simple request for a yes or no answer. I know you've indicated that the town of Brookhaven is involved in the development of the project. So I'll pass on the question. The fact is, public process is local zoning and starts with the town of Brookhaven. Will you submit your zoning needs to the town of Brookhaven, yes or no?
Yeah, the answer is no. We'll go to we're required to go to the Surface Transportation Board. So that's the appropriate, but that doesn't mean that New York State or the DEC isn't going to be part of the process. Everyone gets to have a look at this and a say, but unfortunately, we're required to go to the STB because we're a railroad. So you gotta you have to go where you're directed. And in this particular case, because the developer is the Brookhaven Rail Project and the Brookhaven Rail, the STB is the appropriate agency to handle that.
Another question on Brookhaven and the landfill and the fact that it's closing. If the landfill closes, what happens to the waste requirements of the town of Brookhaven itself? Where would that waste go?
All right. So that's a great question, right? Because it doesn't matter which side of this argument you're on. There's some basic facts here, and the first fact is when the landfill closes, society's not going to stop generating waste. So if it doesn't matter who you are, you're generating waste, and you want that waste to disappear when you take it to the end of your driveway, right? On trash day, you want that waste to go away. Now, I would encourage you to reduce, reuse, recycle as much as you can. And again, nobody's doing more of this. Nobody's invested more than Winters has to ensure that is happening. But there's always going to be some waste that's left over. So the big question, Peter, and you hit the nail right on the head. What is the solution? We know that the solution is a cost-effective, environmentally sound process whereby waste has to be moved off of Long Island. There is no place to put waste on Long Island. Could there be more, another incinerator put up on Long Island? I don't think that's going to happen. I think instead of this process where we move waste from an incinerator and then we take the ash from the incinerator and we bring it back to Brookhaven, those days are gone. The reality is incinerators will still be a part, burning waste will still be a part of managing municipal solid waste. But the reality is that all that ash and all that trash needs to go someplace, and it's going to be taken off of Long Island because there simply is no place to put it on Long Island.
Another question just I'd ask is, Winters a railroad? I think you may have answered some of that at the beginning of the presentation, but if you could just respond to what the short line rail is.
Yeah, it's a Class 3 Brookhaven Rail, which is owned 100% by Winters Brothers, is a Class 3 railroad and has always been licensed by the Surface Transportation Board and will continue to be regulated by the Surface Transportation Board. So we're going to continue to operate as a railroad. We operate today as a railroad. And as we grow and develop and continue to serve the needs of Long Island, we're going to continue to be a railroad.
The next question is, will your facility, the waste transfer facility, be designed to handle ash?
It could be. There are no plans for that right now. It really depends on we don't, the ash waste stream is managed by Covanta, and they've not expressed any interest or desire to come here. They talked about having their facilities over in New Jersey and Pennsylvania that they will truck ash to. We think, again, we think it just not that well, I do think rail is a better option, but that's up to Covanta. That's really not up to us.
I'm receiving a bunch of questions, all of which are going to the somewhat controversial question about whether you are going to submit to local zoning or not. And I think I've passed on many of those questions to you. So I'd like to know if there are any other questions from the brokerage community or the other attendees here talking about more commercial and broker related questions.
Will, I just like you, I know you touched upon it, if all goes according to plan, there's a lot of brokers on this call that are wondering about the 2.6 million square feet of space that's going to be delivered to the market, kind of what the timeline of that is, and how, I guess, the companies that are going to benefit from this space and how the distribution of those goods on and off Long Island are going to help with the traffic problems in our economy. So if you could just kind of expand on that, maybe some of the, some further detail on that.
Right. I think, Dan, that really goes to the benefits above and beyond, just managing solid waste. The fact of the matter is that Long Island is a net importer of goods, and you got to ask yourself, how do those goods get here? Some of them come in by rail now, but we're looking to increase the amount of material, the amount of freight that comes onto Long Island by rail, and try to take some of those trucks off of the street. There is no question that this project will improve the quality of the air by getting trucks off of the road. There's no question that will reduce greenhouse gas emissions by getting trucks off of the road. There's no question that congestion will go down if we're able to get trucks off of the road. So when you look at what we're trying to do, it's really to establish an infrastructure that has largely been lacking here on Long Island, an infrastructure that's needed not just to get material off of Long Island, but also to bring materials here on Long Island. And I think it's also important to realize that Long Island is not the first municipality or geographic area to close a landfill. The entire New York City closed its landfill in the late 1990s. And when they did, what did they do? They turned to a rail solution, and that rail solution has served them very well. It's reduced truck traffic. It's resulted in a great deal of durability and resiliency in their system. And that's what you really need to have is that. So we're looking to, we're facing an issue that the reality is the landfill is going to close. And that's a good thing for Long Island. Supervisor Ed Romaine has done a really good job when it comes to managing solid waste in his town, as have many of the other supervisors. In this particular case, they made the decision to close the landfill, and therein, once that decision was made, we started to look at, all right, now let's find some alternatives. And again, Dan, to your question, this opportunity is just not about solid waste. It's also about opportunities to help other businesses in terms of bringing in goods onto Long Island and making sure that they have the opportunity then to be distributed across Long Island. Because right now it is heavily truck dependent, as I showed in my presentation.
Another question from the audience, is Winters Brothers going to be closing any existing transfer stations and consolidating them in the new facility?
The answer is yes. That's one of the other reasons. I'm glad, Peter, you brought that up, because that's another opportunity for us to reduce the total number of miles driven. So again, by doing that, we're able to consolidate operations. And then instead of a truck going into a facility and then having to drive to a place where it will park the truck for the night, we're simply going to consolidate operations right into that facility, thereby reducing truck traffic, truck miles driven even more. So we're excited about that. That results in a much more efficient operation. And that also results in a much cleaner operation with a lot less air pollution, a lot fewer miles driven. So that's another benefit that will be accruing to the project.
Another question is, will you commit not to import trash from New York City to the facility if it gets approved?
That's an interesting question, because waste flows to where it's to where it's environment to the most environmentally sound and cost-effective areas. Right now, waste is disposed of in the Brookhaven landfill, because it's an environmentally sound and cost-effective way for that waste to flow. We haven't made a decision not to accept any waste. Waste moves all around the greater metropolitan area, as does recyclables. It's an interesting question. We really haven't thought about it. I will tell you that for the most part, it really goes to where it's most waste flows to where it's the most cost-effective disposal outlets, which may be on Long Island, it may be in New York City, or it may be in New Jersey. Waste like anything has to be managed every day, and it has to go to it has to be managed in a cost-effective manner. So the answer is no decision's been made on that yet.
I did get a question about your thoughts on the beneficial use of ash for for recycling purposes. The questionnaire indicates that it is used in Europe for certain purposes, roadbed, concrete, asphalt products, and wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so there's many products that we have to work to find other uses for. Ash is one example. Glass is another example. We need facilities and local markets for this material. I think that Covanta has been working on trying to find solutions for its ash, because they're the generators of that material. So they're working on that. I know that Stony Brook University has looked at that. The school, various schools of engineering and heavy materials have looked at how to use ash, how to recover metals from ash. So Covanta is working diligently to solve that problem. Again, I think the most important thing we realize here is that there's no silver bullet, right? There's no one solution. There has to be this holistic approach in which you commit to reducing waste, you commit to recycling, you commit to reusing waste, and then you really do need to look to find really clever ways to take care of waste products. And I'll give you one example we were just involved with. We were doing a construction project in which we needed to install some drainage area, and we used glass as a product that was mixed in with concrete to make concrete rings, drainage rings for construction projects, and we use those. This glass and ash are both products that we need to do a better job. And when I say we, it's a collective we. It's a society, and builders, road builders need to do a better job with. I can tell you that we are working on some solutions that have a lot of promise, that are part of this project. And again, we know that there's not going to be one solution. We got to focus on increasing recycling, and this project also has a big recycling component to it.
Two of our viewers have technical questions, and I think we started on this a little bit earlier, but basically, are there plans for any new access out of New York for freight by way of tunnel in the President's infrastructure program and any of these programs? Are they going to be improving existing logistics, I guess, through the city of New York is really where you have to go. It is a choke point. So there was that question. And then from another viewer, we got a question. It's his impression that the existing tunnels are not tall enough to handle freight coming in. So the question that viewer asked is, what is, he doesn't believe that box cars can fit under bridges. So what products is Winters bringing in? I mean, I know that on the parcel A, a lot of products are being brought in.
Right. Every single day, as a matter of fact, that rail yard is pretty close to capacity. So every single day, every morning at 6 a.m., I get a list of the box cars that are going to be delivered to to Brookhaven Rail to move in. So not only is it possible, but the reality is it's happening every single day. So that is a fact. The other question, the first question, had to do with the infrastructure for moving materials through New York City. And one of the nice things that has been developed is the Cross Harbor Railroad. There's actually a couple of ways now to get off of Long Island. The Port Authority of New York, New Jersey has invested a tremendous amount of money to improve float barges to move rail cars across the Hudson and reconnect over on the New Jersey side. That's an option. There's an option to go to CSX, connect with CXX, going up through the Bronx. So there is a current infrastructure in place. Cars already travel that route. There is capacity. We know that there's additional and ample capacity for more trains. Not a lot of more capacity for trucks, right? So we need to start looking for solutions here. And I know this is, it's tough for people sometimes to see the benefit of this, but the reality is this is a really necessary project that's moving forward.
Again, I'd like to toss it open for any other questions that anyone else has. We seem to have come to somewhat of an end of our questions, and there were a lot of comments rather than questions that I got in the chat room, but then a bunch of questions in the Q&A. And I think we've essentially addressed each of those questions right now. And Will, I thought you might just want to do a little summation to close this lunch and learn. I think it's been incredibly important. You bring up a very important topic. I think it's something that the commercial brokerage community is very much interested in. Didn't get very many questions from them, but they're a silent group, but I think it's, as I said, it's incredibly important. I think there'll be a lot of interest, not only in the waste transfer station, but in the commercial development. And I just thought you might want to sum up.
Yeah, well, first of all, I do want to thank Dan, Christine, and everybody from SIBS. Happy holidays to everyone. I will say this, that Winters, the Winters family has been serving Long Island for the past 70 years. This company does more to protect and enhance the environment than any other company on Long Island. It's the business that we're in. And you may not like trash, but it's not our trash that we're managing. This is society's waste that we have taken on the responsibility to manage. And the solutions are controversial. The solutions a lot of times are misunderstood. And what we're trying to do is take care of a problem. And it's a very real problem. The fact of the matter is that there's 13 million pounds of waste every day that have to go someplace. My question is, what are you going to do with that waste? What are we going to do with that waste? We have come up with part of the solution, and this is only part of the solution. There's a need for many other facilities in addition to ours. And we really do need to look at what's projects that do have real benefits for the economy, benefits for the environment. And when you look at it with that lens, a lens of what's good for Long Island, a lens of what's good for the economy, a lens of what's good for the environment, this project makes a great deal of sense. This project should move forward for the betterment of all of Long Island.
Thank you, Will. I'd like to toss it back to Dan Weiner now to give us a closing.
Thanks very much, Will and Peter. This has been an interesting and informative program on what I think is a really important project. You've been very open. We know that your door is open in regard to any questions that anyone has to follow up. I just want to say on behalf of SIBS, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention your loss this past year of Joe Winters. And, we know he was a truly great, hardworking guy. And he did a lot of great things, charitable things. And I want to mention his Winters Center for Autism. That was very special and important to him. So that's it. We really thank you for your time. If there's any follow-up questions, you know where to reach Will, and we appreciate it. And I want to extend a very happy holiday season to everyone on the call and to us all here on the panel. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good
Thanks,
day,
Dan.
everyone.
Happy holidays.